Welcome back. My guests are the Executive Director, Center for Development and Enterprise, and Bernstein, Senior Economist Lumkile Mondi, as we talk about the state of South Africa and the capacity to deliver on the promise of growth as well as opportunities to South Africans. Whilst we're still talking about this institutional capacity, we've spoken about the political disarray within the ANC itself. And then we have additional issues that have been put on the agenda, for instance, land redistribution or expropriation without compensation, which in itself is a highly emotive and politicized issue, to the extent that I feel it has crowded out other immediate concerns that should be dealt with. Your view?
Yeah. So, and just to, sorry, Tim, responding to Anne's contribution around growth. I think, and probably may not agree with me on this matter. That is, if I'm putting, if there's growth is a story, what am I investing in? What society am I investing in? So the risk in this country are very high. We were talking earlier about ESCOM. We're talking about the labor environment. We're talking about the education sector. So if I'm investing in an environment, I want an environment whereby there's certainty that if I'm expanding, I can get the skill pool. I can get all those...
but that is from the perspective of the investor, isn't it?
Yes.
Or any person who's
no, even a citizen.
Yeah.
Remember, the investment, there's investment for business.
Yes.
There's also a household investment,
yes,
where all of us to make a decision about what do I do to expand my house, do I go and build something new, etc. You're taking a view on sustainability, we're trying to do. So my issue then on that is that I think our priority here is, can we go back to our 1996 constitutional preamble that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, and really focus on building that social cohesion, because that unity in diversity is what's going to drive the growth that you want. Because if you don't have that...
and give the certainty that you
very much. We bring, give me that idealism, that together, working together, making this country better for everyone, And if that message is mixed by politicians and other interest groups, it makes any story about growth very hard, because who do I trust? I've just been through 9 years of Zuma mismanagement. So why should I buy into President Ramaphosa, where in fact he comes from the same party, and I've seen what can go wrong. So make me believe.
It's very hard, isn't it?
So the compact is very important.
I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you, and I put myself in the shoes of the president and say, it's very hard. Where do you start, Anne?
Well, it's very hard because we're in such a difficult place. And on the one hand, I agree with Lumkile, absolutely. We have to get South Africans believing in our democratic, non-racial project, which is not just words, but that we can provide a better life for everybody, especially the poorer people in our society. Now, in many respects, things haven't been so bad for the elite. If you've got a job, if you've, been placed in a company, if you've started a business, the top 40% of South Africans, not doing so badly, not fabulous, not doing so badly. It's the bottom 60% who get terrible education, who the politicians don't really care about in terms of actions, and who don't have jobs. And I'm really arguing that we agree with each other. I believe in the Constitution, and I believe that the way to move South Africa forward is for the president to start speaking to the nation, and not just the ANC. And the nation is much more concerned about jobs and how me and my little family can do better. Me and my children. What are you offering us? What are you going to do?
You have a sense that that message is not coming through in South Africa? We're not having enough of that?
No, that message has fallen through the cracks because there's a lot of racial politics, of identity politics. And I think that those identity politics, whilst they may matter in that particular corner, but in a statesman or a state person, we expect more. We expect that leader that can build that that confidence in us as individuals and us as society that, team can have those views, but this is where we're going. This is where society is going.
Sure.
And that's what I want to see.
I think we're also saying, or I am, that you have to prioritize. The list is so long, we can't have a laundry list. So you have to say, what are the absolutely essential things that will give South Africans hope in the future, confidence to invest, and the certainty that we're not going to take things away from you, whether you're a black farmer whose land might be taken, or a white farmer, or anybody else. But there's a sense of hope that we're going to govern in a way that will get growth, that has to be inclusive, which means we have to get jobs.
Here we have the situation.
Yes.
We've all analyzed it. We've got more data than we need about this. And I would argue and make a case we've had so many different policies, and it looks like there are even additional ones that are going to be put in place on top of the existing ones. But we don't see much action, right? Let's isolate the things that can be implemented almost right away, that should be done, whether it be from the president downwards. Maybe it should start right there, that we say that he can do now, that will give us the hope and the confidence that you're talking about. Where should he start, do you think, Lumkile?
The first message that he has to send to us is that we don't have resources to operate our institutions the way we had before. So therefore, in areas where the state is weaker, doesn't have a balance sheet, we are ready as a state to map out a process of exiting there, to bring those that have got the capability to run them much better than us. I think that for me will be the first message that needs to be sent. The second message that needs to be sent is that given that weaker position, is maybe think seriously about going to the World Bank to borrow for infrastructure investment across from education to hospitals, because that infrastructure has gone almost collapsed in various areas.
Well, hold on to the thought. Let me just, in fact, you are the right person to talk to about this, because you were part of a group of people who were working on infrastructure programs in the past, investment in infrastructure. And there was a story that South Africa used to tell of 800 billion rands or thereabouts that is going to be dedicated to infrastructure projects. And there was no talk of money being borrowed from anywhere. What happened to that money?
Well, I mean, we're running about 52% debt as a percent of GDP. Secondly, given the position of all the SOEs that we know, at least the three dominant one, that is SAA, Eskom, Denel, we have got liquidity issues at the moment. Money has to come from somewhere. We cannot be writing guarantees forever. So it means we have to think differently. I think what we want to do, we want to show South Africans that we cannot be paying our money into a bottomless pit.
Argument? Tax people more. I doubt that people will accept that, though. They will never agree to that, I suppose.
Let me come at this from a different angle. I think that there's some important things the government could be doing immediately.
Sure.
The substance, I think the mining charter is disappointing. We don't have to go to the ins and outs. This draft that's been put on the table should have been unambiguously pro-growth. This is a sector where everybody's telling us there is pent-up investment ready to come into the country, and it's all ambiguous. It's all about redistribution rather than how we get the productive engine of growth going. That's the first, I would have got that unambiguous and clear. We're not going to get investment if we carry on this way. I would also have done some symbolic things. So as I raised VAT, which maybe we had to do in order to balance the books, I would have, as president, I would have said, I'm hereby instructing every member of the cabinet and my government and into other levels of government, we're going to cut back. We're not going to buy fancy cars. We know that all South Africans are struggling, and so we're going to get, the most expensive car for me. The president will be 500,000 and downwards. It would be an important symbolic message to everybody that this is a whole new era, but we haven't had that. So I think there's some important things, that signals about growth and policy certainty, and symbolic and important things where we're saying the the political class is going to stop eating up all our money. And I would get some convictions going as fast as possible of people, take them to trial and let the courts proceed. Yeah. My big fear is that we've so denuded the prosecuting agencies in South Africa that they can't take on the best of the private sector lawyers that the Guptas and others will hire. And I would turn to the private law firms and say, we need some help. We need you guys at a moderate rate to come in and do some national service so we can get some proper cases going and convict them. And of course,
that isn't as far as building the capacity in the state and the state doing what it can do to get us out of the situation. But out there, the public sentiment goes back. I hear this repeatedly. People say, we hear everything. It's all about land. And they're listening to you now this evening and wondering, why are these panelists, these people, these guys not saying anything about land? Brief response to this ongoing issue that we need to deal with land first before we deal with anything else.
We all know that for many households in South Africa, the first thing that they want is somebody being economically active in the house. So if you go anywhere, the first thing is somebody being economically active. Once we've got that, is for those parents to say, can I take my child to a better school? I don't want to take my child to a school in my area because the school is defunct. Yeah. I see the teachers walking around from 9 to 12 o'clock not doing their job. So when I've got the job, I need to take my kid to a better school.
So you don't think
these are issues of our people.
Okay.
So our people are concerned about what you call bread and butter issues. Yeah. Issues that will deliver to them now. And that's a job.
What do people want now? Land or what do you think?
All the evidence shows that the vast majority of South Africans want a job. Every survey, every study shows that. Now, the land issue, South Africa has a historic debt to deal with land reform. But how we deal with this has to be in such a way that people's lives improve, and there is a lot more pressure on urban land. Somebody who's getting a job or looking for a job, they want a secure place to stay. We should fix the deeds register, which is not working well. We should give title deeds. We should look at urban land and our housing policy. But the first and most important thing is we have to get growth going so people can get jobs. Okay. And that means we need to have a much more labor-intensive approach to growth.
Let's end right here. Are you optimistic, pessimistic currently?
Looking at what has happened to Africa post-colonialism, I think South Africa is well on its way there, where basically...
We're regressing, in other words.
We're going far backward.
You feel the same?
I think the president I prefer this president to any other option that we were given in December.
Yeah.
And I think you have to say he has started on a difficult road. But I think there have been some missteps. Yeah. And I think it is possible to turn South Africa around, but we're going to have to think differently about the future. Sure. We shouldn't just keep repeating the mistakes of the past.
And Bernstein, thank you very much. And Lumkile Mondi, much appreciated. I'm taking away from you that you're saying it's economic growth that we need, it's job creation that we need, it's good quality education, it's proper planning and provision of housing in that order, and then winning the confidence and reinstilling hope among South Africans. Those are the things that can get us going once again. Thank you very much for having been my guest. And that's all we had for you this evening. And thank you for joining me on the Modise Network. And be sure to tune in next week. Until next time, good night to you.